Hello, my name is Brandy Cottrell, and this is my first principals presentation for Higher Brain Living as I work towards becoming a facilitator. I live in Austin, Texas with my son and my husband, and I currently own a tattoo studio next to art. My greatest passion is human development, human potential, and all things spiritual. My love for spirituality began at a pretty young age. Some of my first memories were of me praying to God. During my teen years, I believed that God and prayer would help relieve some of my struggles. So I started studying many different teachings. At at that time, I was a pretty troubled youth. I was in and out of counseling, rehabs, juvie, and I was put on various medications. Thankfully, at the young age of 23, I was able to get off drugs and I began to put my life back together. Though nothing about that process was easy or smooth, looking back, what truly saved me was my interest in self help and spiritual development. On the other hand, not everybody connects deeply with those topics, so many people end up living most or all of their lives in constant struggle and stagnation, and it's just because it's hard and exhausting to change. I still remember the moment I quit using drugs. It was around 2:30 a.m. in the morning, and I had been on a 4-day bender, and I just remember feeling completely tired. Um, it's I was tired in ways that went beyond the physical. None of the drugs were working anymore. I actually felt completely sober, and I remember looking at my friend who was passing me more drugs and just telling him, I think I'm done. I'm done using. And his reply was, okay, well, more for me. Uh, he ended up passing away a few years later because of the damage that drugs caused to his heart. So I am incredibly grateful that in that moment, the desire to use was lifted from me. I didn't have to fight to stay clean after that. Something shifted in me. And every time I was faced with a personal challenge after that, I hoped the shift would work the same way, but it rarely did. Um, there were moments, but I didn't know how to access that switch intentionally. So, a few months before I quit using, I remember I started meditating again. It was a very slow process. At the time, I couldn't tell if anything was happening, if it was working. I just, um, I just kept doing it. I kept trying. Then it was probably a few weeks or months later, I remember hearing the sound of leaves blowing in the wind. That was something I hadn't noticed in probably years. It felt like rediscovering an old friend I didn't realize that I had lost. And I remember that moment very vividly because I realized that I hadn't been present in a really long time. So that just really stuck with me. After I got clean, I went to school to become a counselor for addicts and alcoholics. I I absolutely loved the work, but it still wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I knew something better existed. I could feel it. I could just feel it deep in my bones. I had heard all the stories of spontaneous healings, super supernatural abilities and radical transformation. So I believed there had to be a way to access that potential. I just needed to learn how. And counseling didn't feel effective, um, or at least effective enough. And medication was just a temporary bandage. I did love meditation, but it was a very slow burn, and not everybody is going to be willing to meditate. So I kept searching. I meditated harder and longer. I started studying out of body experiences. I took a class at the Monroe Institute. I found a spiritual mentor. I went to school for breath work. At this time, I was in my late 20s and early 30s, and I was just absolutely fascinated with all of it, and I just wanted to learn as much as I possibly could. But during that spiritual deep dive, something hit me and it hit hard. I started to develop extreme panic attacks. I ended up in the ER for something unknown. I just felt like I was losing my mind, and my family was very worried about me. Looking back now, I'm pretty sure what happened was I was stirring up a whole lot of stuck energy within myself, and it surfaced faster than I could process, and especially without like any guidance. Although it did lead to a transformative shift, the experience was just overwhelming, and it left me more confused than ever. And this is something that I love about higher brain living is it it moves energy, but it moves the energy in a way that the mind and the body can metabolize. The participants work with the facilitator, so they're not left alone, and they're not thrown into confusion without somebody to go to. When I first came across Dr. Cotton's video in the ad for the university, I was instantly intrigued. The spontaneous movements created during the session looked absolutely magical, but what drew me in the most was that it wasn't magic. There were studies, research, and science behind it. I still had absolutely no clue what I was looking at, but I was curious enough to sign up for the class. Even I was skeptical at first, though, and even after I started feeling the energy within my own body, I still remained skeptical for quite a while. I think skepticism is healthy, especially with spiritual programs, self help programs, or anything that claims to have the cure. But what helped was knowing this work brings together ancient practices and spiritual wisdom with 21st century science. Now, this may not be as easy as flipping a switch, but it does only take 45 minutes to create profound transformation. And the best part is it doesn't just transform you, but it spreads to people close to you. You will be able to witness not only your own life change, but also the lives of people around you. Once you start to work on yourself and bring yourself up to higher levels, you bring those around you up with you. If I if we look back um, to the Stone Age, the human brain was built to survive. Its only job was to meet basic needs and avoid threats. Whatever kept someone alive is what they continued doing. There was absolutely no reason to explore new options, even if they might even have better options out there. Survival means sameness, and this still shows up today. Sameness equals safety, even if safety also equals misery. We get stuck repeating patterns that once protected us but may now be destroying us. In recovery, there's a saying that insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And what they tell you whenever you first get into the program is you have to change everything. And so, of course, that's always one of the biggest hurdles for people to accomplish is changing everything unless they have really hit rock bottom. And it sucks because we it should be a little bit easier than having to hit rock bottom or lose everything you have or almost die before you wake up and have the ability to make the changes. And our lower brains want to keep us stuck in old patterns that once helped us but now hurt us. Changing even a small habit can feel impossible, and the lower brain still, uh, and with the lower brain still running the show, it reacts to modern stress like traffic, emails, meetings, paying bills, as if the, um, these things are life threatening. Our nervous system stays on high alert, never letting the body decompress and heal. We can't think clearly, and even simple solutions feel out of reach when everything in us is tense and afraid. Meanwhile, the higher brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex, is built for modern life, but the lower brain keeps taking the front seat because it's older and it's more established. Mental health awareness is higher than ever. There's more information out there, there's more resources than any other generation before, but yet depression, anxiety, and lack of purpose continue to rise. Life has just become way too complex for the dormant lower brain to handle alone. So, here's an example. There's a young boy named Tyler who grows up in poverty. Uncertain where his next meal will come from, he learns to eat fast and that every dollar counts. But now, as an adult, he has become financially successful and he focuses on providing for his family, but he rarely enjoys life. He struggles with binge eating and poor health. The fear of scarcity is just imprinted on his brain. And it imprinted on his brain at a young age that this is what he must do to survive. Even though his life is stable now, the fear still remains and influences almost all of his choices in life. He wants to change and understands the issue, but the compulsion is still stronger than logic. Many of us don't change until the physical, mental, or relational consequences become too painful to ignore. Research now shows that 90% of medical doctor visits are related to stress. So if you imagine how much our health would improve if we stopped living from the lower brain. There would be less heart disease, weight issues, hypertension, stroke, digestive problems, addictions, and so on. The energy our body uses to stay in constant defense mode is energy stolen from healing. Over time, the body just starts to break down. Luckily, evolution gave us the higher brain, the part that lets us live with ease, purpose, and clarity. When activated, this part of the brain increases empathy, gratitude, compassion, intellectual abilities, purpose, and spiritual experiences. Many scientists also called this area of the brain the silent area, but maybe this area is capable of awakening and helping humanity to evolve. And not just capable of awakening, but it's ready. It's ready to awaken. Now, imagine Tyler again. After 6 months of higher brain activation, he finds it easy to reach his goals. He feels the calm he's been chasing his whole life. His success no longer masks his fear. He works with more ease, has more free time, enjoys his family, and experiences positive synchronicities. His loved ones also notice the difference. His physical health improves. He no longer has to take blood pressure medication. His life just blooms in ways that he never thought possible. So when Tyler focused on one dimension of his life, such as the mind dimension that is related to his limited beliefs around not having enough money and needing more money to survive and to make it. And instead, he moves into, yes, I have plenty and I can access more easily. And Tyler actually starts to integrate that belief system. Then that relieves stress off of his body, which allows the body to heal and decompress. The stress is relieved, and he is also able to be more present with his family and loved ones. This is an example of, or this is kind of like the butterfly effect. Whenever we make one change, one small change, seems to have an impact in every area of his life, every dimension of his life. The switch was turned on and he was able to move into a better way of living with ease. During higher brain living sessions, the higher brain activates, allowing people to access the part of the brain responsible for planning, achieving goals, and sustaining states of gratitude, happiness, and calm. This activation helps to amplify the emotions needed for change. It builds resilience and brings clarity. Challenges feel smaller. Those mountains turn into molehills. That switch I had been searching for finally it makes sense. Awakening the higher brain allows us to move through challenges with the kind of ease that normally takes years of hard work. When we activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that wants to grow, it wants to evolve, and it wants to fulfill its potential, higher ordered thoughts begin to flow naturally. We start to develop coherence within the brain, coherence between our hemispheric coherence between the right and the left side of the brain, which improves clarity, problem solving, and it also increases resilience to stress. And then there's also brainwave coherence, which helps memory, learning, emotional balance, and overall cognitive function. As this happens, the noise inside us starts to become a hum. It starts to um, become quiet, allowing us to awaken to a higher consciousness. We become capable of handling life without fear dominating our choices. Problems don't the problems don't just disappear, but we gain the confidence and clarity to resolve them. We begin to move into greater degrees of consciousness and expand our minds and perspectives, allowing us to see challenges from every angle. So we just become capable of handling issues. Um, they become easier to overcome. There have been five major epochs for humans, and we are on the brink of Epoch 6. I'm sure everybody remembers the 60s and the 70s when there was a rise in equal rights and the environmental movements. It was all about peace and love for all. Before that, it was Epoch 4, and it was centered around science and achievements, material success. This began in the 1700s. Epoch 3 was around 3000 BCE. Epoch 2 was around 5000 to 10,000 BCE. Epoch 1, 50,000 BCE. And so if you notice the time frame between each epoch, you will see that evolution is starting to pick up speed. It's only been less than 100 years since the last evolutionary epoch. So here comes Epoch 6, and we will start to see people living more authentically, and their full potential will be released to the world. We will become more holistic and integral. We will start to open our minds to different perspectives, helping us to overcome our differences. We will begin to experience a greater depth of spirituality and become more attuned with our intuition and insights. Everything in life will become more rich and meaningful. And this is something that's been on the decline for the past couple of decades, is meaning and purpose. And so this is something that we can look forward to with Epoch 6. We can look forward to bringing back more meaning and purpose to our lives. Many people are searching for a miracle to help them change their lives. Through higher brain living, transformation can happen in quantum leaps. What once required decades of meditation can now occur within a few sessions. EEG scans from the New Human University shows that the brain can shift at a rate once thought impossible. It appears we have a dormant inner organic technology within us, ready to awaken and catalyze transformation. Ancient wisdom has pointed to this dormant inner energy for centuries, and higher brain living brings together that ancient wisdom with modern science. Our bodies hold a complex energy ecosystem through specific contacts on the participant's body. That the practitioner activates the liquid crystals within the collagen. Structures with piezoelectric properties are capable of sending energetic signals throughout the body. These subtle changes begin to create profound shifts. During inorganic technology activation, there are three specific responses that often appear. There is the salutogenic breath expansion. This is a spontaneous breath response that feels as if the body is taking this impossible deep breath on its own. It feels as if every organ, every limb is taking a deep breath. There's also the salutogenic breath rhythm, and this is just a naturally occurring rhythmic breath. It's a deep breathing that increases the oxygen and energy. Then there is the salutogenic auto wave. This is a natural wave-like movement within the body. The person is still in control, but they just allow for the movement to occur to help amplify the energy flow. These responses do vary by participant. In my own experience, I felt the breath expansion once in the very beginning of my practice, and it did feel like I was being breathed. It startled me a little bit, and then hold on, my kitty, gotta go. The salutogenic rhythm breath was more subtle, and it would start to gain momentum as my practice progressed. Then months later, I think it was about 6 months later, whenever I had facilitators work on me at UEE Week, I started to experience movement in my body. It wasn't wave-like movement. It was more jerking, wiggling, vibrating, and then eventually I got the wave-like motion. These sensations can come and go. At times I won't feel much physical movement, and other times I will feel a lot. These responses help release stress and emotional blockages, allowing energy to move freely, and it usually leaves the participant feeling lighter and just renewed. These responses are activated using the facilitator's scan, lock, merge technique into the subtle energy vortexes, primarily located at the occipital area at the top of the spine, the base of the skull, and also the sacral area near the tailbone. Working at the natural 45 degree angle of the vortexes helps to enhance the energy flow. Along with the physical merging techniques, the practitioner uses focused intention, and these focused intention and to help influence the participant's outcome. These sessions are a lot like a delicate dance of technique and intention to amplify the energy within the client. Then there is the spiritual side of this work, which to me is one of the most beautiful parts. Alongside the physical and emotional transformation comes a kind of spiritual awakening that's impossible to put into words. As the higher brain lights up, many people will naturally tap into expanded states of awareness, intuition, and clarity. Some experiences feel just extremely bizarre and magical in the best way. Those subtle, transcendent moments you can't fully describe, but you never forget. Higher brain living is what has given me that on switch that I have been searching for. The one that helps me to finally make the changes that once felt too heavy or confusing to tackle. When the higher brain awakens and begins leading instead of the lower brain, we become capable of handling situations that used to stifle our growth. Challenges that once felt overwhelming suddenly feel workable, even simple. There's a sense of internal alignment, as if something inside finally clicks into place. And once that clicks into place, it's like you have this aha moment where it's like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is how I'm supposed to do it. Higher brain living has shown me that change doesn't have to be this long, hard climb up, trying to find answers um, outside myself. That we are built with the technology within us to transform, and it's literally at our fingertips. There no longer is a need to fix ourselves. It's just about tapping into that part of the brain that is meant to lead in this new world of technology and advances. And when I look back at my life, I see that all the crazy and the chaos has definitely led me to this point. There has been just so many moments of just so many aha moments during this education that it's hard to it's hard to deny that this has been what I've been seeking, and I just want to see how far I can take it. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you guys for listening, and I will be excited to hear what you guys have to say.